Half a day students, I am Governor Lou Leon Guerrero. You all have been through a year of big changes. We've had to adapt and make big changes to keep our families and our island safe. But with change comes opportunity and a chance to try new things like PBS University. While Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio and I will continue to do our part to keep our island safe, you students have a part to play as well. Your part is to keep learning and to keep up with your lessons. That's why I am happy to see you here ready to learn with PBS University. PBS University is a way to bring a continuous educational curriculum to you while you stay safe at home during this time. To help you keep up with your studies, we asked our friends at PBS Guam and the Guam Department of Education to put together this episode. Thank you for doing your part and have a great lesson.
Banana Caesars, welcome. Today I'm showing you our Sunen Agaga plants, or taro. This is one of our indigenous crops that we've used for so many years. It's beautiful because we use all parts of the plant. So today I'm showing you different parts of the plant. This is the root, the halit. This is the one we use for kadu. Really tasty, starchy, really good for building our immunity and our connection to the land. So we love to make sure that we eat a lot of our indigenous crops to help strengthen ourselves. This part of the plant is the leaf. It's so beautiful. It kind of looks like our heart, or like our veins, blood vessels. If you're familiar with a fiesta table, we use it, hagan suni, where we'll collect the leaf and we'll roll it up like this. Our old grandparents used to make a lot of dishes with this. Of course, it takes super long because it's very important. You have to cook it. You cannot eat it fresh. Then we chop it up in small pieces and boil it for a super long time with other kinds of goodies like mango, turmeric, salt, doni, coconut milk. So it's a really good dish and it's super healthy for us. More recently, modern time, people don't have access to the suni as much as before, or maybe time is an issue. So we use spinach or kamuti leaves as an alternative for hagan spinach because they take less time to cook. But this one is really the tastiest version. It's the original version that we've been using for thousands of years. It takes maybe like an hour to cook it down and make sure that all the properties are cooked out of it that would make your mouth itchy. So you want to cook it for a really long time, at least an hour. And then it's really the tastiest method of making hagan suni. And the beauty of this plant is that unlike many of the crops that are more new to Guam, this one has less disease and virus and pests associated with it. So it's a really easy one to plant. Unfortunately, it's easy to grow and it doesn't need a lot of water. This is the Sunen Agaga. It's, you can see on the bottom here, I'll just show you. Some of the babies come out from the main stalk. I don't know if you can see it. But once we move a baby away from mom, we can replant her and start a whole new crop. And it's beautiful because one mom would make lots of little babies and we can just take it and plant it elsewhere. So about a month and a half ago, we found 5 mama suni plants that were ready to harvest. and she made all the little babies around her plant. And so what we did was we separated all the babies. You can see, you can pull them out, the roots come out. And these make a whole bunch of other plants. So this whole row took about a month and a half to grow. And when we were planting it with our kids and some of the youth, one of our friends took a piece of the leaf. She loves to eat everything fresh. So she tried it and she made the mistake of chewing it fresh, because one thing you don't want to do is eat this fresh. It can really irritate your mouth. There's a lot of sap that causes scratchy, itchy things in your throat. So you definitely want to cook it down. You want to make sure you don't eat it fresh. We have to cook it. Otherwise, it can really irritate your mouth and your throat for a little bit. So here is our taro, agunsuni. This one is ready to harvest. It could be a little bit bigger, but you can tell when it's ready to harvest because the root will start coming out of the ground. And when you're ready, just hala, pick it up, pull, and so this one is one small one ready to harvest, but it's really good for our kadu. This is Sunen Agaga. You can see it's red stem. So if you want to start planting your own, you can reach out to us and we'll share the seeds or little starters. It's a really good first crop because, of course, it's low maintenance. It needs love and it needs sunlight and it needs water. And that's pretty much it. So now I want to talk to you about another indigenous crop that is one of our local favorites that we celebrate, especially during the holidays like Christmas. And it's Dågu. So during Dågu season, it usually happens between November to early March that we're able to harvest different types of Dågu. It's one of the indigenous crops that have a season, and we enjoy a lot of the Banyalis Dågu, the different kinds. So during December especially, we use it during the Nabanas or when we gather with family. Really delicious with syrup or all kinds of yummy anibat, honey or sugar water, as we do traditionally to dip the Dågu donuts into that sweet stuff. So after the season ends, of course, we want to plant anew. And so here are the different types of Dågu that we have. There's Nika. You can tell mostly by the shape of the leaf and the way that there's thorns coming out. This is a good indicator that it's Nika. It's one variety, but we have so many different varieties of Dågu. We have this one, Dågun Apakat. You can see how the stem is a little bit different from the Nika. So we want to make sure that when we're harvesting, we're also planting for the next season. Because we love it so much, we want to make sure that we have it available and keep it protected, because we also know that the babui alamtano, the pigs, they love to eat it. So we'll start it off when they're small in a little pot, and we can plant it in bigger pots or plant it straight in the ground. We like to use the big 10-gallon pots because it's easier to harvest. We even have some ubi here, Dågun Hadza, Liluk, different types. So again, just planting and preparing for the next season. The season is usually between end of November to early March that we can keep harvesting from it. And we know that it's ready to harvest when the vine, it grows up. It has to have a tree to climb on. So remember that when you're planting it into a pot, you want to put it next to a tree and it said like the taller the tree that it stands next to, the bigger the roots. So make sure it's a large tree or a trellis that keeps it keep going upwards so that the root gets bigger. So you can enjoy this all the way until about March of the next year. So it does have its season, and you want to prepare by keep planting more and more. Nowadays, it's becoming really rare to find a lot of dågu, so it's really important for me, and especially my grandparents. They really enjoy to have their fresh dågu every season. So, traditionally we've made our baneless dågu during the holidays, and so we want to keep that tradition going. We have to keep planting more, and make sure that we protect it from the animals like the babui, the pigs, so that we don't lose certain varieties. I'm told that the Dagon Hadza, which this is probably not a great example, but kind of looks like knuckles. The Dagon Hadza is more rare. Nowadays, the stores sell it a little more expensive than the other varieties like Nika and Agaga. The Hadza is a little more rare, and so a lot of the farmers or the people that have been planting it for a long time, they say that the pigs really get to it, so protect it. We want to protect our different varieties. So we have so many types of dågu varieties that we can show you, and we just want to keep it going for the next generation. Of course, I want to stress that eating indigenous foods help us strengthen our immunity. When we're harvesting from the land that we live, we keep our body strong and our spirit strong, and we want to keep perpetuating these old indigenous crops. So our children and your children will continue to take part in this part of our culture, eating indigenous foods. So this is another one of our indigenous plants that's been here for so many generations. We love it because, of course, like the suni, it has very little pest associated with it. It's very easy to grow. It's what we love about our indigenous crops. And we just wanted to show you a sign that we know it's ready to harvest. It'll start flowering, so you can see these little buds here and flowers. They start popping out. And that's when you know it's a good time to harvest. If you let it go too long, the root, it becomes very fibrous. And so we don't want to wait too long to harvest. This variety is a yellow variety, and it takes like 6 to 8 months before it's ready. Unlike the white variety that takes a little bit longer time to produce its roots. So what we're going to do today is show you a little harvest. We're going to go underneath the plant because the part we use for this mendioka is in the roots. It's in the ground. And we use it to make some really delicious dishes like golayap and mendioka. When we take the root, cut it up, and boil it for a really long time in coconut milk. We want to make sure we cook it very well again, because it has some kind of toxins if you don't cook it long enough. So at least an hour long of boiling it in coconut milk. We can also make tamales mendioka, where we grate it with a blade, make it into small little fibers, put manha or sweet coconut milk and juice, and the pieces of manna chunks inside, roll it up in some nice corn fiber or foil. Some people use foil, but we want to avoid the foil. So some kind of natural material, roll it up and steam it for a while. That makes a really good sweet tamales mendioka. So let's harvest some. Now Kia's gonna help us harvest today. So she's gonna show you how it's done.
Cut off the main branches first.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna start by cutting off the main branches,
Go in here.
just to make it easier to pull out of the ground.
And
Super easy.
Wow, that's a big one.
Now the fun part. Yeah.
Fun part.
So what Kia's gonna do is pretty much just like loosen up the soil, rock it a few times, and then hola, use her pamalawan muscles to harvest it. This is not just a man's job. This is a woman's job.
Oh, yeah. Trying to preserve also the roots.
Yeah. We want to try and make sure we're not breaking the roots when we're harvesting. So by pushing it around, we're loosening up the soil, making it easier for us to harvest. So what's nice about
Wow.
planting it here in the northern soil is that a lot of the roots just spread laterally, like on the side, because if it goes straight down, it's straight limestone. So planting in the north here, it grows sort of outwards. But if you're planting in the south, where the roots are, the soil runs really deep, then the mandioca grows downwards. Wow.
Chick.
So this one's probably, we waited a little bit longer to harvest, which is okay. That just means it's not as good for golayapan because it will be really fibery. So in this case, we would scrape it for tamales. That way it's easier to eat. Wow, look at that. Beautiful. Thick roots. Kia style.
Can't want to go around because she's underground.
Yeah.
I really don't want to break her roots.
So she's digging around the main roots so that we're not breaking too much of it. It's okay if it breaks sometimes, but we try to keep it whole. It's just easier to grind and shred. So something about mandioca roots is that it holds cyanide, and you definitely don't want to eat this fresh. So by soaking it in water for a long time, at least a day or a few hours, it helps to get rid of the cyanide and the toxin that's in the roots.
There she is.
Beautiful. Good job. Yeah. She's huge. Look at that.
Wow. Who's hungry? Malago.
And so from this stage, we are going to just chop it off,
Okay.
the babies. Oh. And then we'll show you how to replant it because, of course, when we're harvesting, we want to make sure they're ready for the next season. And the beauty, just like the suni, the taro that we've explained, the beauty of this plant is it makes a lot of babies and seedlings that can restart your season. So we can use some of those. And we'll just cut pieces of it here. Can you hold this, Kia?
Mm-hmm.
You want to cut off a piece that's about 6 to 8 inches long and replant it straight in the ground. You want to stick it straight up. I learned this tip from the chief at ADS, John Borja, is that when you plant it, you put it straight up vertically into the ground. Yeah, instead of leaning sideways. So that way all the roots grow all around the plant when you harvest it. Versus some people like to put it at an angle and then the roots only grow at one side. So the trick from Chief John Borja is plant it straight up. So there you have it. There's one, and this, you can see the potential of how much one plant that's harvested, we can make lots of little plants that's really easy to grow, really low maintenance. It doesn't even need water, it just needs sunlight and love and our giving soil. Those are huge.
Biggest I've ever seen.
Yeah. So one tip I want to just mention, that anything you harvest that comes from the roots, that you harvest the roots like Sunen, Mendioka, Tapioca or Taro, you want to make sure that after you harvest it, you keep it in the shade. You don't want to put it in the full sun. That's what we learned from Uncle Zuzu, is that you don't want to keep it out in full sun. So once you harvest it, and it really preserves a long time, and the trick is not to wash it. Don't wash it until you're ready to use it, because all of the microbes, the soil that surrounds the roots is kind of like a protective coat. What happens if you wash it before and you want to use it in a week? It'll start to rot. So don't wash it until you're ready, your nana's ready to use it or you're ready to cook it. Keep it with all of the nice soil protecting it. So if you want to make some income or you want to trade with other people, the value of this right now is about $2.50 a pound. So Kia's probably holding 15 pounds,
Maybe 20.
maybe 20 pounds times 250 is about 50 bucks. So you can either trade it or you can sell it. So here's our Lemmai tree. This is our tree of life. It's probably one of my favorite trees. It's so life-giving. So many uses of this plant, from the roots to the ramas, the middle part of the tree. So even the flowers are used for omelet. My grandmother told me that her dad used to take the flowers that are brown and either burn it for mosquitoes, or there's a sap that comes out that helps you with eye issues. Of course, it's really delicious food that we've used all throughout the Pacific. It's our indigenous food. We have 2 different types of lemmai. We have this lemmai and we have the seeded breadfruit. That's the dok. Really delicious. We use it for all sorts of dishes. The beauty of this tree is that it produces all year long. My favorite way to cook it is over an open fire. We grill it. Takes black on the outside, nice and cooked in the middle. And just put some salt and butter on it. It's the best. Or skin it and then use it, cut it in cubes and make a golap and lemmai with it. So delicious. Just like I mentioned with the Sunen and the Mendioka, our lemmai has very little pest issues, and it's really a fruitful tree. I want to show you that around the base of the tree, you see a lot of the baby plants growing, because at the roots, the new babies come out and grow, like this one here. And we can take it, cut it, and plant it somewhere else. So it's really giving. We have some lemmai here. You can tell when it's ready. Kia has a little sample. So she just harvested it.
Has that light yellowish, greenish yellow, and it's smooth instead of bumpy. And it's nice and sappy coming out off the skin.
Mm-hmm. Yummy.
Hafa students, I'm Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio. For more than a year now, you all have continued to wash your hands and watch your distance from others, and you've done a really great job wearing your masks. We know your parents and guardians have helped you to make these changes to keep yourself and your community safe. As Governor Leon Guerrero said, we are happy you are here. We want you to continue to learn and sharpen your skills with the help of PBS University. This program is the result of a collaborative effort. We couldn't do it alone. I'd like to thank the teachers and support staff of the Guam Department of Education and PBS Guam for their work and their commitment to our students. I'd also like to thank you students for participating at home. To your parents, I'd like to thank you for taking an active role in your child's education. We are all eager to return to a time when all of us can share and study together in person. Until then, we hope you learned something new from this PBS University instruction.